Hello, and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. I am Tina Hammond. How's it going? Everybody's super emotional. I am included in that. So let's talk about what's going on. For those of you that tuned in live to my last video, it was a disaster. Unfortunately, when the sound is really messed up, I'm totally unaware that the sound is messed up. Okay, so I tried to watch that last video, and almost 90% of it was totally um, incomprehensible. The speech was blurred, and my voice was blurred. And normally, when I say certain kinds of things, some of my words get taken out. But I've never I've never had anything perform, or should I say, a lack of performance like that last video. That was insanity. So I know a couple handful of you guys got to see the video before I decided to delete it because it was garbage. So I want to talk about what's going on right now, and then I want to briefly back up and sum up that last 45-minute video in just a couple of words. So hello and welcome to the news that didn't make the news. Happy Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day it is, and whatever the part of the world where you reside. I've spoken to quite a few of you in the last week, and the overwhelming and overreigning consensus has been the release of sadness and grief. So that's part of our releasing process. So we're going to talk about that, and we're going to sum up in 5 minutes what the last video was actually about. I know many of you try to muddle your way through it and understand what I was saying through the static. Hopefully that's not going on right now. My neighbor is watching upstairs, and I asked her to please text me if my sound becomes scrambled and unintelligible. So hopefully she will let me know. But that's why I'm using my phone tonight instead of my computer, because my phone definitely has a better track record, um, which makes no sense because I have the cheapest phone service ever and um, pretty decent internet. So however the universe works the way it works when it wants to work through whatever device it wants to work. Okay, thank you. Perfection. El Appreciato, apartment number 4. I do appreciate you very much. I don't know what I'd do without your tech savviness in my life. So, what's going on right now and our connection to that energy? So, the reason we track sun signs, or your sun sign, or the parts and traits of your personality, is by where the sun is when you were born, and that gives you your traits. Of course, you have 9 other placements in your chart that also give you hints and signs on what you came here to do, what you came here to work on, who you came here to be, and parts and pieces of your personality traits. But even if you're not a Libra, for example, we're in Libra season. So not just the Libras, but what everybody will be going through right now is relationships, okay? Because Libra is the sign that's all about fairness and justice and inequality and beautiful communicative relationships. So if you have placements in Libra or many placements in Libra, you'll be feeling this more than the average bear, or maybe more than your neighbors. But when the sun is in Libra, like right now, the focus is on Libra energy, which is balance and fairness and equality and justice for all on the world stage and in your personal life. So, this time of Libra, when the sun is in Libra, like it is right now, is all about expressing ourselves in relationships to bring things that are unfair into fairness, things that are unequal into equality. And so that's pretty much the theme until October 22nd. Now, having said that, we also had an eclipse in Libra on October 14th. So that means bringing from the darkness or from the shadow anything within me that I've buried subconsciously or unconsciously, anything within you, your relationships, your family dynamics, or in your own personal little world. Um, that has to do with the balance, fairness, equality, and justice of Libra. So, as a theme, that's what we're all working on right now, is expressing ourselves in relationships. But on the ascension process, we can add a little icing on the cake, and that is we are expressing ourselves in relationship to heal ourselves, to heal our family dynamics, to heal all of that. Um, so that's where we are. A very, very powerful release is happening, so that a very, very powerful shift within you can happen. And now I'm going to take 5 minutes to sum up the last 45-minute video for you. The last video was about our mitochondrial DNA, and that's a very small portion of your DNA, which has to do with the Eve line, the mother line, or Mother Earth, however you want to look at that. So, our divine feminine energy within every body across this planet. Okay, so regardless of gender for you, your mitochondrial DNA is the part of you that comes inherently from Mother Earth and from the beginning of time, from our ancestors. And that is your divine feminine energy, and that is what is shifting. The mitochondrial DNA is just a small part of your DNA. But what it took me 50 minutes to say in the last video, I'm going to sum up really quickly for you. The mitochondrial DNA upgrade from the last video is here for us as a service to our mind, body, and spirit to push us through so that the internal upgrade we're experiencing will turn our 3D life to match our inner upgrade with what we feel at a higher level from within. So the mitochondrial DNA upgrade that came in about a week ago, maybe you got it a little bit before that, maybe you'll have it next week. But it's a mitochondrial DNA, which means internally a very small portion of your feminine intuitive energy is what is expanding. It's the part that's upgrading, and it's the part that's pushing you through and inviting you in to a new journey. So this DNA upgrade through your mitochondrial DNA is pushing you, allowing you, and inviting you to match your 3D life with your inner upgrade. Okay, so what you feel at a higher consciousness level from the higher dimensions, from your personal higher self, and all streams of consciousness that are flowing into your awareness are inviting, allowing, and asking you to take what you see within, because the higher dimensions are not outside you, they are inside you. And they are within your DNA, your RNA, and your mitochondrial DNA. All dimensions exist internally within your physical body. So this mitochondrial DNA is asking you to take those visions, those voices, those premonitions, those ideas, those sparks for a beautiful new life in every capacity, and match what you're receiving from the inner dimensions of yourself, where the higher dimensions reside, and let that permeate out and become your 3D reality. Okay, so internally you feel love and peace and expansion and all these beautiful things. But if in your daily life you're staying stuck in something or not allowing yourself to match your external reality with what your internal reality is, that is what this is about. So the inner higher dimensions that reside within you, within your mitochondrial DNA, within the divine feminine aspect, that is the part of the body within every soul, regardless of gender, is asking you to make your 3D reality into this beautiful manifestation of all the things that you hear, you feel, you know, and you love, quite simply. Um, that's to sum up the last video in 5 minutes. So there you go. And I'm sorry about that video and the quality. So, um, yeah, so there you go. So this time is about expressing ourselves in relationships, which we know has been extremely hard for a multitude of reasons. Not everybody in your family, not all of your friends, your coworkers, your loved ones have decided the ascension path, have decided for conscious expansion. Doesn't mean they're not going to, just means they're not doing it at the same time that you are, right? So we start to experience this, and makes it really difficult for us to share things that are happening in our physical reality, right? Some of us have gotten ourselves into or had this situation that fell from heaven, fell from the sky, fell from the angels, however you want to look at that, where you meet someone and it's a dynamic that you can't understand and you can't explain to yourself, and you certainly can't explain to your friends, to your neighbors, or to your relatives. So, what happens in that instance is you keep that to yourself, because many of you have tried to express what it feels like, what that telepathic connection is like, what it's like to hear someone's um, thoughts and dreams and visions and desires from thousands of miles away from you. It's really hard to explain that to people. And I know many of you that have tried, and then your family and friends just think you're a nutball. But I'm here to tell you, and you already know, that you're not a nutball. So this time, we're being asked to work on our dynamics in relationships across the board. Yet the first wave of ascension is going through so many things that are totally unexplainable, right? So I have a couple sentences and I come on here and try to make a video and try to make sense of the magic that I feel, of these things that I know are coming from the inside of my body, from my multidimensionality, from my expanded consciousness, that other people around me just don't understand. And that's only one of the things they don't understand. I've talked to many of you, I've given tarot readings to many of you. I know many of you have gone through heartbreak, major illness, and I have gone through both myself. Okay. I decided 3 years into my process of illness to actually break down and tell my mother a couple of days ago what was going on. Right. So within my family dynamics, I have my mom and my dad and Jan, who is my dad's partner. Those are the people that I can open and express things to. That's it. And my neighbor. That's it. There's nobody else that understands any of this. The reason why I chose, like you chose, many of you chose, to not discuss your illness, your disease, your lack of perfect health with other people is because when you do that, Only thing they want to talk about is what did the doctor say? When do you go next? When's your next surgery? What's your next treatment? And I didn't want to go through that after major surgery. So I just didn't tell anyone what was going on. And I know many of you went through that as well. There is this belief, right, in the spiritual community that if you're sick or if you are injured or if you're whatever, it's all completely your fault and it doesn't have to do with anything but your mindset. And I can tell you for sure that that's not the case. I never had the mindset of illness or disease my entire life. And I've always taken incredible care of myself. And that's one of the reasons why I felt so incredibly charged, happy, sad, everything all at once when I made that video about the Hartman lines. And I asked you to please, please, please get that information out to other people, because what Dr. Ernst Hartman said is, and I'm not saying your mindset doesn't have anything to do with it. Your mindset, of course, can have something to do with what you get into, but also what you get out of. But Dr. Ernst Hartman, and keep in mind he was a doctor, said that illness and disease was a location problem. And so if you're living on a place that has a Hartman line, you are getting massive amounts of radiation, okay? And it can start as simply not feeling good or being tired, and it can and will lead to cancer and death, okay? And that's the reason I made the video about the Hartman lines, if you haven't seen that. I think most of you have, because that's the highest viewed video I think I've made in months. So many of you have seen that already. And I hope that you guys can hear me and see me okay, because everyone keeps dropping off and it looks like Jess is the only one here. But Jess and her awesomeness, I'm sure she would let me know if people could not hear me. I don't really care if my face is blurry. Not to be on a down note, but I just want to say that adds to the confusion, the heartbreak, and me and many other people like you holding it in when you get sick. One is being judged that you have a negative mindset or that you don't know how to take care of yourself. And the other part of it is that Western medicine part of it. I can tell you a few of my family members when I got sick, what the doctors say, what the doctors say, what the doctors say, what the tests say. And I just wouldn't repeat any of it, okay? Because I didn't want those words to keep coming out my mouth. We'll say it very simply like that. So we have these family dynamics. We have a lot of karmic wounding because we're dealing with the same people that we've been dealing with for 26,000 years. And we have the feelings and the emotions and the passion and the desire and the heartbreak all at one time. But to be honest, we don't know exactly where it comes from. And even if we do know where it comes from, that it's coming at it from a cellular level up into our consciousness or into our awareness, that doesn't exactly mean that we have the memory like, oh, okay, well, you and I did this. That makes perfect sense why I feel this way. All we have is the feelings and the emotionality at a cellular level. And we don't have a roadmap to know what happened before. Okay, so add that we're all going through the healing process. Not everyone has a massive, illness or something to deal with. Some people are dealing with that relationship dynamic, right? Massive family karma. Some people are dealing with the illness, but we're all here to work on this very powerful healing and releasing journey. And our brain just gets in the way so much of the time that it's incredible. So, what I really want to talk to you tonight about is the very powerful release that's happening and the very powerful shift. The shift is causing the release, but yet at the same time, and on the opposite side of that polarity, the release is also causing the shift. So the amount of people that have reached out to me in the last 5 days that were taken over with tears and didn't know what to do or didn't understand what was going on, or any of that, it's because there is a massive shift, which is causing a massive release, and that massive release is causing a massive shift, which is then a domino effect going down every wave of consciousness on this planet. Hello, Renee. Thank you for joining me. So, expressing ourselves in relationships to heal. You know, it's hard because maybe you're in a relationship dynamic or family karma or some illness, um, where you didn't want to discuss Western medicine, when you didn't want to try to explain karma to people that don't even believe in reincarnation, or you didn't want to try to explain your telepathic connection to some lover from another lifetime, that brings this crazy spark into your life and makes you want to, is the catalyst to change everything in your reality, right? And it's hard to express these things to people. And so I was talking to Jan, my dad's partner, today, and we were on the phone for an hour because she's like, I let relationships just fall apart because I didn't know how to deal with things and I didn't know how to express things. And she's the second person, just in a couple of hours, to express this to me. And I said, I'm going through the exact same thing. Because the first thing that happened when I personally got out of alignment with my health, let's leave it at that, I told certain people, um, this is really hard for me. Certain people were all day long sending me cures for cancer, and then I would talk to them and they would be super negative, or, oh, I have a hangnail, or, I'm going through this experience. Just stuff that seemed so minor compared to what I was going through. And that was really, really difficult for me. But the thing that was most difficult was I told these people, it doesn't have anything to do with you, but right now, my whole reality has to be rainbows and unicorns. Okay. So I don't want cures for cancer. I don't want, the bad news about the world. I can't listen to your family trauma right now, or your family drama, or your childhood wounding. I couldn't do it. I had to totally and completely protect my energy field, right? So these things are coming back up right now because the sun in Libra is all about fairness, equality, and balance, and justice in relationships. And was that a just thing for me to do? Just ditch people along the wayside because they couldn't understand? But for me, it wasn't once, and I'm sure it was many that way for many of you too, that you told people, radiant positivity, rainbows and unicorns. And when you said something or asked for that several times and they couldn't deliver or go along with it, you had to leave the friendship and leave that where it was. And on the other end of that spectrum, there are a lot of people and family and friends, karmic dynamics in sickness and in imperfect health that we just let go by the wayside. And sometimes, we got really angry at other people, even said things we didn't mean. These are the things that are coming up right now with the sun in Libra because it's unfair and it's unbalanced, right? So I've been thinking about this a lot for the last couple of days. Is it really right for us to just not speak to people or tell us what's going on because we know that they will mandate that we use Western medicine, or they know that we will, that they want to mandate that, we only involve ourselves in relationships that are in physical reality and not some frou-frou interdimensional high frequency, telepathic thing that you can't express to anyone, right? So many of us, I'm not the only one, have held these things inside and just not said anything, um, to anybody, right? I don't want to hear your way to heal myself. So I just stopped. It just became really difficult. It became hard for me to speak to people and not tell them what was going on with me, which sometimes just meant I blurted out things that I didn't mean. Right? That's another thing that's coming up. Was it fair for me to say to people, I don't want to talk to you anymore? Delete my number, forget about it. Right? That was me. And that's how we sometimes push away our pain. is thinking if we push that person away, or if we don't speak to that person, or we don't explain what's going on with us medically, that you know, that it makes it okay. But what I realized today in all of those situations, I should have been able to speak the truth and say, here's the truth and here's how I'm going to deal with it. Like the fact that I wasn't a stronger person, that maybe we feel like we weren't strong enough people, right? To just say, okay, yeah, I am in some crazy telepathic conversation and connection with somebody I've never met. And I know it sounds crazy to you, but that's how my reality is. You know, I'm not well. And my reality is, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to change myself. I'm going to change my frequency. And that means tuning out all the people that weren't able to give feedback in a high frequency way. And many of you were able to give that frequency back to me in a high frequency way. And I still didn't tell you what was going on. Okay. Because one of the things that I know, I'm not the only one doing this with the family karma or the wounded childhood stuff that you don't ever want to talk to anybody about, you know, whether it's illness or family karma or childhood wounding or whatever. You don't want to talk about it, right? Because we're taught that we talk about it, we reiterate it, our words, our spells, right? And this has been coming up for many of you. So what I'm connecting this to is this very powerful release that's happening, this very powerful shift that's happening. The shift is causing a release. The release is causing a shift. The amount of people that reached out to me with unexplainable tears is a little bit mind blowing. And I know a lot more people want to reach out to me than actually do, but they know how incredibly private and hermit like I've become in the last 3 years in this healing process of myself. And I'll say to you guys, I do appreciate that very much. Okay, it's hard to keep up with social media with the amount of things that I do for my body, mind, and spirit wellness connection on a daily basis. But everybody that's reached out to me in the last 5 days has just been crying. And so they want to know what's going on. And it goes back to one of those things that when we, you know, fall down from heaven, so to speak, and we show up in this physical body and you meet someone, your family, your friends, your love dynamics, and you're like, wow, I know that person before, or I feel that animosity, or I feel that love, or I feel that bond, or whatever it is. And it's really difficult to maneuver that because we don't understand why we feel it, right? We don't know what happened in that last time. We have the cellular memory, but we don't have the physical memory. So I want you to remind yourself what an incredible job you are doing to be able to maneuver through all of this with very little assistance from your family and your friends, and some of you, your partners as well. It's challenging, right? Being on that first wave, um, just meaning you experience it before other people do. We're here for that as teachers, so that when other people go through it, we can kind of explain it to them. And a lot of what I explain to you comes to me through just the silliest ways, right? Sights and sounds. A lot of it comes from musical notes of everything, whether it's cricket's legs, or the sound that the wind makes when it hits certain trees from certain directions, right? Everything is based on sound frequency, and all those sound frequencies right now are here to help us. But with this powerful release and this powerful force of a shift, working together side by side, backwards and forward in both polarities of that thing, the release is such a powerful release. So when we get in the energy of release, we have to release without judgment. Now, I'm explaining this to you because it was what I was going to talk to you about anyway, but also because the amount of people that reached out to me that were in absolute tears, okay? Not while they were on the phone with me or leaving me messages, but this is what everyone has been kind of experiencing right now. So we all know when we're upset about something, for a couple hours or all day, maybe we're at work or in a public place, or we're not in a place where we want to cry or we want to release. So sometimes we save that for later. That's not what I'm speaking about right now. Okay. That's a deliberate and intentional saving my emotions for later when I'm by myself, right? When I can let it out in the comfort of my own home. But the kind of powerful release that's happening right now is anything that's out of alignment in your body. So, whether that's your body, mind, spirit connection, whatever that is. So, you may be releasing the fact that you're doing things or living a certain way in the third dimension that's not in alignment with this mitochondrial DNA upgrade, which again is saying dimensionality is all within you. Every higher dimension is within you. And every time your DNA upgrades, you get access to more and more dimensions or the arms or adjectives or expansion of those dimensions happen. Okay. So within, if you were to close your eyes and walk around and do everything with a blindfold and not judge what you're going through or how other people looked or the way other people were looking at you would see the world as a very, very spectacular place in just feeling. But we spend a lot of time using our brain and judging, and we can't help it. That's part of the technology that is the human brain. So, what's so important about this powerful release that's happening is for us to release without judgment. And so, when something upsets you earlier in the day and you're waiting to the privacy of your own home to let it out, you know that's coming. So, I'm not speaking about that. What I'm speaking about is you're taking a walk, you're meditating, you're in the shower, and all of a sudden you start bawling. Okay. So, what the human brain does is the human brain says, why am I crying? Am I releasing something? What am I releasing? Why am I sad? Why am I so emotional? And the first thing I want you to know is not even necessarily sadness that you're releasing, okay? But since we don't have a roadmap of what our blocks are, body, mind, and spirit, that are at a cellular level from past incarnations and also things from childhood, when we stop ourselves and say, why am I crying? Why am I sad? Our brain automatically tries to connect our tears to something in 3D. Oh, my husband must be cheating on me, or whatever it is. Okay, so the brain, when we feel sad to the point where we're crying, especially really crying or bawling, our brain is looking for something in physical reality to pin it on. But because this is a cellular release, it has nothing to pin it on. It is simply your body's mitochondrial DNA upgrade that came in not too long ago. Higher dimensionality within you is asking you, Tina, Renee, please take this auric field and your entire 3D life and match it with the beautiful life you see multidimensionally. Okay, so when I ask myself, why am I sad? Why am I crying? What am I releasing? Um, why am I so emotional? As soon as you get the brain involved, you'll notice that the crying almost always stops, and the releasing, more importantly, is what stops. So, unlike the sadness or upsetness you may experience earlier in the day and wait till you're in your own space to release it, this comes on out of nowhere, or it would appear. The brain tries to connect it to something in the third dimension because we don't understand why we'd be crying if we're not sad about anything. But again, it's a body, mind, spirit release that is asking us to release pain, sorrow, grief, addiction, karma, all of the things that have happened to us in past lives. So if we're adamant that we can't let it all out unless we know, is this connected to my boyfriend, or is this connected to my neighbor, whatever, when we're trying to make a logical connection to the brain, we can't release at a cellular level. So we start to cry, so we start to release. That's really good. But then when we stop to question ourselves and let our brain get involved, right? So I even had to remind myself in the process, and this happened to me several days before um, a couple of handfuls of you guys reached out to me. I was crying, same thing. I mean, I was just crying and crying and crying, right? And I was like, if someone's going to knock on my door, that's how loud I was crying. But when I had been a few minutes into the crying, I'm like, what am I crying about? What am I releasing? Am I sad? Why am I sad? And I'm like, oh no, wait a second. This is the junk I don't need. It's not in alignment with the vision of multidimensionality that's within me that wants to permeate my 3D reality. The multidimensional, beautiful expression of positivity, of joy, of love that wants to manifest, which is inside you, wants to manifest, be pulled, invited, allowed, and no longer denied in the third dimension. So, when we make a judgment on ourselves, when we try to connect our tears, our emotionality to something in the 3D, it stops the process. We stop crying. So when you start crying and you're like, you maybe the light bulb goes off, I'm releasing. Just let yourself cry and just say, oh, I'm just releasing something. I don't have to know what it is. I don't have to attach to it. Because if we attach to it and pinpoint it, one, like I said, it stops the process. But the other thing is, then we're like, if we try to remember and then are able to connect to some of those memories at a cellular level, that's creating more pain and more grief as opposed to just crying. Let yourself cry or scream or take a baseball bat and hit some balls or hit a punching bag at the gym or something to release it instead of making a judgment on ourselves. We really do need to allow ourselves to cry or scream or kick or let whatever wants to come out. Okay. Because when we get into judging ourselves for why we're emotional, the brain stops the heart and the cells of your body from releasing. And that's really important to know. Okay, so there's a really big energy of transformation, as I said. So much powerful release is happening and so much powerful shift. Your powerful release is causing a powerful shift within you, your life, and the planet, and the powerful shift from the sun within the earth itself is actually catalyzing you to heal and release also. So we're being asked to feel into this and not try to judge it or try to understand it, okay? Because again, when we try to align releasing at a cellular level to something in the 3D, it's really not connectable right now, okay? And this is different. If you have something in your 3D and you know you're crying because you had an argument with your best friend or whatever, that's not the thing I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you go into all out tears or frustration or whatever it is completely out of nowhere, okay? We're asked to not fight against the flow here, okay? And when we try to understand what's going on in our brain or why we're releasing something and we don't have the answers that the brain wants, we have a harder time standing up for ourselves, okay? We want to defend ourselves. Why am I crying? Why am I sad? Whatever. And we're just releasing. So we're really being asked to use our intuition to transform ourselves, to allow the death and rebirth of consciousness, and to stop listening to our brain all the time and listening to our heart, because that's at the bottom of the expression of the mitochondrial DNA upgrade. It is that I will connect and you will connect. We will all connect with what it is in our hearts that we feel we want to connect to. I've been talking about this, I feel like, forever. Not what do my parents say? What does my partner say? What does my neighbor's dog think? Okay. This is about me aligning my multidimensional inner life and my heart with what makes my heart sing and making that my reality without fear. Transforming and rebirthing, okay? The phoenix rising. But we can never become the ashes of the phoenix to rebirth ourselves. If we stop ourselves and judge ourselves for why we're crying, and it may not come up as crying for everyone. It may come up as a burst of energy. It may come up as a burst of anger. It may come up as a sudden flush of heat in the body. However that comes up, we are asked to love ourselves fully and connect with our heart. This mitochondrial DNA upgrade is asking you to take the beautiful, multidimensional, expressive, unconditionally loving, forward, expanded thinking self and match reality. Okay. So a lot of us have this beautiful inner world that we don't feel like we can or want to share or express with other people. Okay. But that's the important thing about this upgrade. This upgrade is telling you it's happening internally for you, no matter what you do. And we are best served to align our jobs, our relationships, and all of that to our heart space, not to what we've been taught through indoctrinated religion, not what we've been taught about indoctrinated education, right? We're taught so many crazy things, what to do, what not to do, how to dress, how not to dress, what to talk about, what not to talk about. We don't talk about beliefs. You're not supposed to talk about religion. You're not supposed to talk about politics. No, right? All these things are supposed to be blocked off and saved for your personal reality. And for many of you, the personal reality, the multidimensional reality that lives and breathes within you, that's getting stronger with every DNA upgrade, and especially with this one is nothing but a push for you to upgrade what is multidimensionally living and breathing inside the cells of your body and your heart with your 3D reality. Okay, so meaning anything and everything in your life that's not in true alignment with happiness, joy, bliss, desire, passion, enthusiasm, and excitement. We're being asked to let it go, to let it die, so that we can rebirth ourselves, matching the energy that we carry within ourselves. Because this releasing, I'm going to be honest with you, it's so incredibly positive, but what we're releasing on the base frequency of this is sadness, grief, sorrow, disappointment, water under the bridge, everything that didn't work out. So even though you're aligning with your multidimensional expanded heart space consciousness internally and being asked to allow and invite that to create what it is your 3D paradigm. Instead of living one way when I'm in the privacy of my home and then having a job that's out of alignment, or a partner, or a family dynamic, or a best friend, or anything that's just not in alignment. And I know many of you have lost good friends and family members in the last couple years, especially with COVID. That really brought out the separation and divide between, do I believe in the reality that external world is telling me, that's giving me, that's serving me on a silver platter, or do I believe the reality that I create? That was a huge divide, and many people have lost close family members, friends, even partners over that division, over one side saying, no, I choose to expand, I choose to allow and invite myself to alter 3D reality to the beautiful vision that I see, as opposed to keeping my job or my partner or my geographical location, whatever's not in alignment, and then needing to meditate twice a day to come back to who you really are. So the mitochondrial DNA, the heart space, expanded consciousness that's happening within you, no matter what, is saying to you, instead of meditating 2 or 3 times a day, or burning sage in your office for hours at a time, or hiding from your friends and family, make your friends and family match what is internally upgrading for you. That's what this is about. And at the root of this, there's a lot of things that I've been talking about that are held at a cellular level that we don't understand, that we can't explain to ourselves or other people. But it's about sadness and loss and regret. Okay, so in past lives, many times, many tumultuous things happen, right? Our connections end, or we may watch someone die, or we may get married and lose someone at a young age. We may lose a child. There's all these things, and we make this vow to come back and make it right. But all we have is the feeling that it needs to be fair, it needs to be balanced, it needs to be justified. Okay, and that's why this is coming up. Sun in Libra. And I think it's definitely way more intense than it would normally be. But we had that eclipse in Libra, and as I've been talking about for weeks, whatever's in the shadow or in the darkness or hidden, whether it's unconscious, subconscious, or you're conscious of it and you swept it under the rug. That's what's coming up. And the root of this releasing of pain is that sadness, is that loss, is that grief that is held at a cellular level from that past lifetime. Then we come in here, and all of us, we experience loss and grief and sadness and heartbreak, right? But we have to invite that to transform us, right? Because there's sadness. When we have sadness or sickness or disappointment or grief at a cellular level, we're almost like resonating or feeling empathy for what's at a cellular level that we can't understand, if that makes sense. So we're feeling grief and disappointment and sadness about things that are out of alignment right now, because they're things that were out of alignment before. And that's why I've been talking about aligning ourselves with people, places, and things that are exciting, that are passionate, that are joy driven, that are mission based for the benefit of our own lives, for the people around us, and for our family as well. Yes, I agree, Renee. It seems like one step forward and two steps back, but I did want to elaborate on that. Expressing ourselves in relationships to heal, right? There are times in your family or with karmic situations, with lessons, with needing to heal your physical body where you just didn't express those things, right? Is that fair? Is that balanced? Is that justified? Because at a higher level, what I could have done, what we all could have done was said, this is what I'm going through, and this is how I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to deal with it the way I see fit, and I'm not taking advice from other people. Okay? Allow and invite yourself to release whatever's going on at a cellular level. And if you start to cry or get angry or you want to scream or get a punching bag or hit some baseballs or do whatever your run like hell, whatever your form of release is, that's one of my favorite. Um, just do that and let yourself fully feel the process. Because when you go into the brain and stop yourself, you release, but you don't release that amount. And whenever you can get into the practice of not getting into the brain, what's going on, why am I feeling the sadness, this grief, this loss, this heartbreak, whatever it is, when we don't judge it, when we don't make a judgment on it, or try to connect to something in third dimension, we just let ourselves run or cry or scream or hit a punching bag. The next time we go through a release, it's so much easier to not invite our brain in there, right? We have to train ourselves to not use our brains when we become really emotional, filled with emotions that we can't understand, that we need to release. Yes, it was a doozy. I agree with you. Thank you for being here. It says there's one person here, so I'm not sure if that's Renee or if that's Jesse. But thank you for being here. And Jesse, thank you for monitoring. I did not want to make another hour-long video to find out that everything I said was totally and completely static and unintelligible. So thank you for doing that for me. Okay. We're being guided here to use our intuition, our gut instinct, our visions, our foresight, that multidimensionality inside your body is what is giving you that hunch, that vision, that number synchronicity, that serendipity, right? That person's initials, that message not to cross the street right now, even though you look both ways and it's safe. That multidimensionality, that expanded consciousness, that upgraded mitochondrial DNA within you is saying, act on your intuition, okay? Act intuitively by what you know within you. You don't need external validation. And I say this a lot. We do need to speak to people and express ourselves to people. It's very helpful and very healing for us to be able to talk what we're going through with a person or two. But when we start expressing it with 20 people or in the depths of our despair, or writing an article or putting a video out on social media, we're going to get all kinds of feedback. And my suggestion in that case is, and again, I'm not saying to bottle it up, I'm saying express yourself. But when you're feeling that way, it's not the greatest time to jump on and make a video or write something, or spew out whatever you feel like you need to release onto social media, because you get all the feedback. And my suggestion is not saying don't write, don't make videos. I'm just saying allow yourself to go through it and understand what you're going through. And then when that passes, then write about it or make your video or do your blog or whatever it is. And you'll find that your feedback will be incredibly different from the time of you just, the amount of people that just go on social media and just throw up the disparity that they're in the moment is amazing. And then the feedback they get, and then, they keep just rereading what they wrote and rereading comments for hours and hours. They're not releasing it, they're getting caught in that. So that's my 2 cents on that. I love you. Thank you for being here. And bye.